5 Live Formula One.
What a qualifying. Talk about edge of your seat stuff. We've just finished watching Oscar Piastri take pole right on the line ahead of teammate Lando Norris, with the third man in this title fight, Max Verstappen, right behind them. Welcome to your Checkered Flag post-Qatar qualifying podcast. It's Harry Benjamin with the former McLaren mechanic Mark Priestley and our F1 reporter Jenny Gow. I mean, Mark, a pivotal pole for Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, he's been incredibly strong all weekend. I mean, back to the greatest form that we've seen from him at a time when, he really, really needs it. Today, though, this was an unbelievably good lap. He broke the lap record. No one's ever gone around this track quicker than he did today. And he had to do that because Lando Norris had put in a blistering lap earlier in the session. The marker was set very, very high. It was going to take something special, and it was something very special that we got.
I mean, at one point, they were, 35 thousandths of a second difference between Norris, who had the advantage at the time, and then Piastri, and then it all came down for Piastri to that final lap. I mean, Jenny, though, it is kind of win or bust, isn't it, for Oscar Piastri? He had to get pole position today.
It gives him every chance of keeping this championship alive. He knew that. I think Lando Norris knew that. The world knew that, how important it was. And bearing in mind, Piastri has gone off the boil, let's say. He's been simmering away, but it's never come together since the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort at the end of summer. So to get it 90 days after that, to get pole, to get the sprint win, it was so vital, not just for his chances tomorrow, but for the momentum, for just his inner soul to be saying, I haven't lost this. If every track was as grippy as this, I'd have probably won the World Championship a few races ago. But actually, he's still got what it takes around a track like this to be absolutely masterful.
Indeed, 6th pole position of the season for Oscar Piastri. Let's hear what he had to say after qualifying on pole.
Oscar, congratulations, pole position. It's your weekend, it seems.
So far, there's obviously still the main points for tomorrow, but so far so good. I think the car's been in a great place, been able to get the most out of it as well, and it's just been nice to have a smooth weekend.
Are you the sort of person on a night like tonight that can go to bed and sleep well and feel relaxed, or do you think it's going to go through your head of what happens tomorrow?
I mean, a little bit of both. I think I'll obviously enjoy how today's gone, because days like this don't come around every day, but obviously I know that the main points are tomorrow, and there's still a lot of the job to be done still, so I never sleep amazingly on a Saturday night, but I'll try my best.
Okay, good luck. Thank you.
Oscar Piastri then doing what he needs to do, not only in qualifying, Mark, actually, but all day, of course, because it seems like an eternity ago. We actually had a race today too, the sprint race, which again, from sprint pole, lights to flag victory, and never looked like he came under pressure for Piastri. It's funny, isn't it, how one particular track, characteristics, as Jenny was saying, we've got a bit more high grip, high speed, and suddenly, welcome back to the party, Piastri.
And hasn't he joined it with a bang? Because it's been a perfect weekend so far, hasn't it? As you say, pole for the sprint, then he won the sprint, then he won that really under control. He got a good start away off the lights and controlled the pace. All he had to do was really build a gap from, as it was at the time, George Russell in second, to clear that DRS threat, and he did that very early on, and then he was just able to control the pace of the rest of the sprint there. So he hasn't really had too much of a challenge in that. I think when it comes to the Grand Prix, the challenge is going to be different. He's got Lando Norris alongside him, Max Verstappen just back one further place. They don't have a huge amount to lose in terms of Piastri and Verstappen. They've got to win this race. That's really what... In fact, all three of them need to win the Grand Prix, which is a sort of really interesting prospect from us as fans, isn't it? Because they're all going to be going for it. They're going to throw an element of risk in this. Piastri, there's no good Piastri finishing behind Lando Norris. He just slips further behind. If Max Verstappen finished behind Lando Norris, he's out of the whole thing. So, these two guys around Lando are going to be giving it everything. And I think with Oscar, in the form that he's in, with the car that he's got, he has a very, very good chance of winning the race.
But Mark, my question back to you is, can they give it everything? Can they try their hardest? Because Papaya rules still lives and breathes. The team might try and dispel it as much as they want, but actually the way that McLaren go racing, it means they can't go all out aggression, whereas I think Max Verstappen probably can. But the way that, I agree, the way that they approach this race, the way that they approach turn one is going to be so vital.
I would almost bet my house that Papaya rules have gone out the window at this point, in that you're not going to find a driver who is going to, think along those lines of respecting the other person, respecting what the team have asked them to do. The championship is on the line here, and I think that will be the only thing front and centre for all of these three guys as they go through the rest of this weekend and into the final one if it goes that far in Abu Dhabi.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll focus a little bit more on what we can expect from the race on Sunday a little later on in the pod. We have had, though, a race today in the form of the sprint, and points have been handed out. Lando Norris still leads the championship, but by less now, 22 points from Oscar Piastri, and is 25 points ahead of Max Verstappen. So Verstappen losing a point compared to what he came into, and Oscar Piastri gaining a couple. So in terms of the championship permutations, as Mark was saying, it is must win for Lando Norris if he wants to be champion on Sunday. If he takes the victory come the checkered flag, he will be the 2025 Formula One World Champion. Or if he outscores Piastri by 4 points and doesn't lose any points to Max Verstappen, Verstappen's got to finish ahead of Norris in the points to stay in the fight at the very least. So if it ends as they start, it goes to Abu Dhabi next week. So for the good of the plot, I think that's what we're all hoping for. But Lando Norris, well, sprint quali, he finished third and started third for the sprint race behind George Russell. So some points lost there. And then Mark, in qualifying, when push came to shove, what went wrong for Norris on that final lap?
Yeah, so there was nothing splitting them in terms of their performance and their pace today. As you said earlier on, they were split by 35 one-thousandths of a second, and that was really that's the story of how quick they both were. But when it came to it, and this has so often perhaps been a part of Lando Norris's story over the course of this season, hasn't it? When it's come to it, he did actually make a little mistake. He got a much larger amount of understeer than he expected. He started his flying lap. He went through turn one reasonably well. Gets to turn two, so very early in the lap, and got a huge amount of understeer. I think maybe went in a little bit deep, so brakes a little bit later than he has done previously, just trying to push the limits. That's what they're all trying to do. But because he went in deep, he picked up a little bit of understeer. He drifted slightly away from the apex and onto the dirty part of the circuit. And by that point, given that we're at corner 2 here, he'd already ruined the lap. That's how fine the margins are. He had to be perfect. It wasn't quite perfect on his side, whereas on Oscar Piastri's it pretty much was. Well,
Jenny caught up with Lando Norris after qualifying, and he spoke about that final aborted lap.
I'm not sure. Turn one was already much better. I felt like I was a 10th up probably in one, but turn two, I'm not sure. I don't know if the wind changed a touch or something, and I just pushed into a small understeer, and that cost me basically. I had to abort, I was going to go off the track. The understeer got worse as I went through the corner, and I damaged the floor yesterday. I didn't want to damage another one today, so I had to abort. So pretty disappointed because yesterday, I didn't really feel like I had the pace for pole. Today I felt a lot more comfortable and convinced I would have been on pole, but I'm not now. So pretty disappointed with myself because of that, especially because my qualies lately have been very strong, but. I guess they can't always be great and can't always be on pole, but there was certainly opportunity there today. So I missed one from my side, but that's up and now, and focus is on tomorrow.
We talk a lot about momentum in this sport, and we've had this conversation a couple of times this year. Do you feel like some of that shifted a little bit in, obviously, Oscar's favour this weekend for the first time in quite a while?
If that's what you want to say, then yeah. I think every time someone's mentioned momentum, I say I don't believe in it. So it's just he's done a good job, and I made my mistakes today. Previously, I've been doing a good job, So no, I don't believe in that at all. I just think he's driven well. That's him. He's just done a good job today. That's it. It's not because of momentum or anything. So focus is on tomorrow, and I'll see what I can do to get back to the position I feel like I could have had today.
I saw your dad earlier on. Obviously, your mum and dad are both here. Your dad's wearing odd shoes, the same shoes, but different colours. There's all sorts of things that people will be doing all around the world to wish you luck, superstition, all of that stuff. What are you going to do? Obviously, you said you want a bad night's sleep because that goes better tomorrow, but what else can you do to control some of it, at least tomorrow?
I'll probably just not talk to you guys and girls. Stay away from the cameras. That's probably the best thing, but it's our job, sadly.
Come on, you love speaking to us.
No, you're good. No, nothing really. Go and see my engineers, do some work, prepare the best I can for tomorrow, see what opportunities may arise. That's it. Play some basketball in my room. Go back home.
Basketball
no,
or
like
computer?
No, actual basketball.
Actual basketball.
Harry's, you're pretty bad at it. I won every game today, so then I go home, get a spaghetti bolognese in, play some Counter-Strike, probably lose some Elo, and then go to bed.
Sounds dreamy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good luck tomorrow.
So, I mean, Jenny, you obviously were there chatting with him in the pen straight after. I mean, how much do you think he'll rue that mistake? Do you think it will weigh on him overnight?
He was absolutely 100% convinced that pole was there. He said that he was a tenth up after the first turn, and it all went awry, obviously. But he is absolutely convinced. And he said it there. He would have made his life a lot easier if he had just nailed that final lap. It wasn't to be. He didn't have enough time to come around and start another flying lap, despite bailing out so early. So I think he will go home and kick himself. And yes, he says that he'll go and play a bit of basketball, have some spaghetti bolognese, all of those sorts of things. And he won't let it brood too much. But you've got to say, the momentum shift to Piastri is quite significant at this point in the title fight.
Is it another mistake? And I feel like that's a bit harsh because he's been on a brilliant run of form as Lando Norris. But where he's made mistakes, they have come sometimes in qualifying, right in those closing moments where you need everything. You know, we had the red flag as well, which came out for a bit of debris that came off Carlos Sainz's Williams. That kind of maybe upsets the rhythm slightly. He knows he's got a world championship. He's practically got one hand on the trophy anyway. Is that mental fragility still there for Lando Norris?
Well, he definitely makes mistakes, but, you know, we all do. There's not a human on this planet that doesn't do that.
No, I don't make any mistakes ever, Mark.
But I think the thing that he's done is he's made mistakes, but he's also put in spectacular performances. He's been on this incredible run, and it's given him a little bit of a cushion that, you know, he can get away with the odd mistake. That's not how he wants to go racing. I mean, look, McLaren got both their cars disqualified last time out in Las Vegas, and still we think they're going to win the championship probably this weekend. So they've put themselves into such a strong position with the really good performances. If he reflects on the year, when it's all done and dusted, champion or not, I think Lando will look back and say this is part of his learning curve to becoming the great champion that we're pretty sure he's going to end up being. Whether that's this year or another year, every champion that's ever been has got there through a series of learning curves and making mistakes, learning from them, getting better as a result. He did it last year, came up short in the championship to Max Verstappen. A lot of the lessons he's learned, he's put into practice this year, and that's why he's now in this position. So, yeah, he's not perfect, but he's had a very, very solid year, and I think he'll go into tomorrow very, very confident still that he's got huge pace with a great car.
He's never won a Grand Prix from second on the grid in 12 previous attempts, Lando Norris.
Oh, no.
I know, but actually...
That's a terrible stat.
But it's a terrible stat. I won't take credit for it. But actually, he doesn't need to win because he can still finish behind Piastri and still take the title in Abu Dhabi with an advantage.
The trouble is, right, that... yes, that's all true, and that's the big picture view. If you want to sort of minimise risk, you can say that's the case. But anything could happen in Abu Dhabi, and that will always be in the back of your mind. You know, you could get tagged at turn one. You could have a failure of the car. He's suffered with that already this season. That's cost him some points. Anything like that happens when we roll into Abu Dhabi, and the championship could slip away, maybe through no fault of his own. So he would love to get this done tomorrow. And he has got a car on a circuit very much capable of doing it. The one person in the way of that is his own teammate, of course, and that's what's going to be the really intriguing part of this for all of us.
And the fact that he starts P2 around this track, we've already seen in the sprint race today that's quite a big disadvantage. The drivers were speaking about it after qualifying today. They reckon it gives away 5 metres to your opponent on the first 4 seconds of the race if you're starting on the even numbers. And Lando is starting on the even numbers. Verstappen behind him, odd. Piastri in front of him, odd number. I just think he's got the whole world almost against him going into this race to not win it. So if he does, by some miracle, manage to win this race here at Losail, it will be quite some achievement.
Well, F1, that's F1 in a nutshell, isn't it? You really cannot call it. Worth remembering, actually, just you bring up there's so many outside factors. Reliability could be one of them. Both McLarens are right at the end of their life when it comes to power unit elements they've used. Max Verstappen, you can remember back to Brazil, had a big old engine change, fresh parts, ready to go to the end of the year, and came from pit lane all the way to the podium. So that just could be something to think about. And for Max Verstappen, Mark, well, he's still in this title fight, he is now 25 points adrift, though, of Lando Norris. He's just behind them on the grid in third. Has he got the car to fight? Because if we go back to the sprint as well earlier in the day, well, he managed to work his way up into fourth, but he's not been happy this weekend so far.
No, and one of those positions he managed to work his way up from in the sprint was from his teammate who qualified ahead of him in sprint qualifying, and obviously, as expected, Judy got out the way very easily. So that was a free pass, if you like. I think the answer is he doesn't have a car that's anywhere near a real, genuine match for the pace of a McLaren over a lap. But I think there's a couple of things. I think if he can get ahead at the start, if he can get a blistering start, this is a very difficult circuit to overtake on. And his pace is not so much different to McLaren's that it'll be an easy walk in the park for them to get past back again. So if he can get in front, there's every chance he can hold that place. And the only other thing I'd throw into this is we have got this Pirelli imposed limit on the number of laps you can do on any set of tyres for this Grand Prix. It's 25 laps. One of McLaren's real strengths at most circuits, but particularly the sort of warmer ones, higher speed ones like this where tyre deg is an issue, McLaren have this real advantage where they can look after their tyres better than most other cars on the grid. So if we hadn't had this lap limit of 25 laps, which is going to mean that it's going to be a 2-stop race, McLaren have another string to their bow where they could run longer. They have the option in strategy to run longer than many other teams because they can look after tyres so well. Well, that advantage is gone. They're now going to be at least 2 pit stops. That means there's going to be shorter stints where drivers will be pushing flat out. The idea of looking after your tyres is kind of gone. So I guess in one sense that brings something back towards a little bit more Max Verstappen's side of things, where he doesn't have to sort of suffer a disadvantage to McLaren in that sense.
Well, Verstappen needs to finish ahead of Norris if he wants to still have a say in this title. If they finish how they start on the grid, Verstappen in P3 will be eliminated from the Drivers' Championship at the Chequered Flag on Sunday. But he also caught up with Jenny after qualifying to talk about how he's going to approach the start.
We know that the start can be quite important, so we'll of course also try to have a good start, but at the same time you never know what happens in a race. We have a 2-stop, and also some things are not in your control, right? There might be some crazy things that also happen behind you, so you just need to keep everything open.
Qualifying P3 at the beginning of this weekend, it might not have seemed possible, but you managed to do it again. So is it going to be skill, luck, a mistake from someone else? What's going to give you that win?
Yeah, I think on pure pace will be a bit difficult, so we do then rely, I guess, on other factors. So we'll see. I mean, a lot always happens or can happen in a race, or a race start or whatever. So just need to wait and see tomorrow.
With the mandatory 2 stops, it's already kind of a pre-described race. Does that take away some of it for you, or do you think there's still possibilities out there to be had and an interesting race to be raced?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, because you can pit 1 lap and then there can be a safety car the next lap, and that's then not great for you. So, I mean, people always act like it's super straightforward, but I don't think it always is. Or, some crazy things can happen. So, let's see tomorrow.
Max Verstappen then in third. So our title contenders all inside the top three, which sets it up quite nicely. But we must show some attention to those not in the title fight as well, just behind.
Why?
because this is a sport that contains 20 drivers and 10 teams. And I want to give a bit of credit where it's due. I think Mercedes have had a strong showing so far. Jenny, particularly George Russell.
Yeah, and I think Kimi Antonelli, who starts P5 on the good side of the grid, I might add, was very disappointed after qualifying today. He thought there was more in it. Being out-qualified by his teammate once again, I'm sure wouldn't have sat comfortably with him. But when he knows that there was more in the car, I was surprised that he was frustrated, but he was disappointed with that result. But yes, I was only speaking about the other teams, but Mercedes have come on at an absolute treat. And they know they haven't got a real hope this year, but it all bodes well for next year. If they can get a car working from the very beginning with all the new regulations, as Mercedes have done in the past, absolutely nailed the change, then George Russell, Kimi Antonelli, they're just honing their craft right now, and they could. I mean, it would have to be something disastrous out in front for them to, bowling ball of Max Verstappen for George Russell to come through or Kimi Antonelli to take the win. But stranger things have happened when a championship's on the line.
That's true, and they've already bagged some good points though this weekend. Russell finished second in the sprint, which saw little to no overtaking. He didn't get the best start off the line, had a bit of pressure behind, but really held second. And Antonelli, with a 5-second time penalty to boot, still managed to hold on to sixth in the sprint race with track limits being exceeded. So that'll be something to watch out for in the Grand Prix as well. What it does too is, you talk about honing their craft, Jen. Well, they're honing in on second place in the Constructors. They've got 41 points over Red Bull in third. Ferrari didn't pick up anything in the sprint race, no points, and it has just been a desperate day for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, Mark.
I mean, really quite sad to watch. Lewis Hamilton knocked out again in the first part of qualifying, as he was in the sprint. But even more than that, the car is just so bad. Leclerc, who, is a little bit more on top of it than Lewis is, but, I'm talking about small margins here. He's a little bit more on top of it. He's ragging this thing, literally wringing its neck around this circuit, desperately trying to get something out of it. And it's dancing on the ragged edge. And we saw a really, really high-speed, dramatic spin for Charles Leclerc, where he ran wide, as he'd done a few times so far this weekend with that car, trying to cling on to grip. He ran wide, he lost traction, and in a very high-speed part of the circuit, pirouetted 2 or 3 complete turns, luckily at a part of the track where there are no walls, there's no barriers nearby, so he kind of got away with it. But it's a sign of just how bad Ferrari are, that they're struggling around trying to wring the car's neck, and even with that, it's only good enough for 10th.
Yeah, 10th for Leclerc, 18th for Lewis Hamilton. I mean, that makes Leclerc look pretty good in 10th, Jenny, but as Mark was saying, his struggles were visible for all to see. But for Hamilton, you've spoken to him a couple of times today in the pen. I mean, early doors, I think, was it after the sprint race? He was pretty mute, pretty short with his answers.
He has been trying his hardest to be as eloquent as he can when the words fail him. And you get the feeling that certainly yesterday he wouldn't talk to anybody. Today's been a bit better with his answers. But as journalists, we all have a bit of fear when Lewis has a bad day. And when Lewis is having a bad year, and then on top of that, he has a bad first 2 days of a race weekend, where do you go with that as a journalist? How do you comfort him? How are you even trying to comfort him? You can't ask for a razor-sharp question to him because the world is on his shoulders. So all you have to do is try your best to elicit some sort of reply from him. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but I mean, he's trying to be as polite as he can, but he is hurting. And this, we were joking in the pen, saying maybe we should just ask if he wants to come out for a drink tonight with us, because you just feel for him. He cuts such a lonely figure at the moment. He doesn't know how to make it better. And Mark, you're well aware, this is someone who always has the answers, who always knows how to make it win, make it better. And he's working his hardest, but it's still not working.
Yeah, you can't accuse him of not trying hard, and I don't think anybody is. He is trying his absolute hardest. I mean, you said he told you that he's been up late into the night, as I'm well aware he does regularly, working with engineers, looking through data, just desperately trying to find something that gives him a glimmer of hope. But it just hasn't worked. It hasn't worked at Ferrari, but even bigger than that, it hasn't worked for him really in this generation of car, in this modern era of Formula One. When we went to this set of regulations, it hasn't really worked, hasn't suited his driving style. He hasn't been able to adapt, and he'll be desperately hoping that when we change everything for 2026 with the new cars and the new formula coming in, that might just suit him a little bit and come back towards him.
Let's hope, because he didn't really make any gains in the sprint race. It started from the pit lane in the end and came home behind Hülkenberg and only just ahead of Gasly in 17th. And I think I saw a remark that Hamilton made about Pierre Gasly coming up to him in the Alpine and saying how bad the Ferrari looked from Gasly's perspective. So, yeah, not happy days for Lewis Hamilton. And I think I'd be too scared to be in the pen, Jen. I'd rather you than me.
It's not a task that many people would envy on a night like this, where you just have to tiptoe around certain drivers, not just Hamilton, but other drivers as well. Yuki Tsunoda, one of those as well. There's no question that is a good question on a night like tonight. But, Lewis does his best. They all do their best. Even Lando is complaining about, having to talk to the media, and when I picked him up on it said, not you, obviously, but
obviously.
It's part of their life as a driver that they have to go out there, put in a performance, and then straight away come to the pen, talk to us as the media, talk to the fans, because we're just a conduit for you. And sometimes you have nothing. You can't pull something out of nowhere, and it is painful, but sometimes I am very scared.
I'd go with the asking him out for a drink option.
He doesn't. Well, it won't have to be non-alcoholic though.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
All right. Well, we'll let you get on with that, Jen, and see how he
sounds so wrong all of a sudden.
Well, hey, who knows?
Innocent.
See how he performs tomorrow, and he may suddenly surge forward. But we'll see. He's got a long way to go to get to the points. That'll go to the top 10, and this is how they line up. So it is the two McLarens on the front row, Verstappen third, then the two Mercedes, Russell ahead of Antonelli, the top 5. Another good qualifying for the year for Isaac Hadjar, best of the rest really in 6th. Sainz right up there as well. Sainz was under investigation and the team for being released in an unsafe manner. A bit of sticker, a bit of plastic from the garage got stuck on the wheel as he went out, and it got left onto the track. The team have been given a €5,000 fine on that one. Alonso was 8th. Pierre Gasly, I think, deserves a round of applause for somehow hauling that Alpine up into the 9th, ahead of Charles Leclerc. Hulkenberg, Lawson, Behrman, Bortoletto, Albon the top 15. Tsunoda, unfortunately, after a really good sprint for Yuki Tsunoda, it must be said, first time he's ever Max Verstappen has been out-qualified in any format since Baku last year, and then had a magnificent lap 1, did Yuki Tsunoda, fought with Fernando Alonso, and it was almost choreographed to perfection the way he got in front of Alonso. Verstappen did too, and then Verstappen very quickly got through on Tsunoda on lap 1. So unfortunately it's back to reality for Tsunoda, out in Q1. Ocon 17th, Hamilton, Stroll and Colapinto, the 20 runners and riders. Right, what's going to happen in the race, Mark Priestley? We mentioned it a little bit at the start. Turn 1 is going to be crucial for both Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. And it does kind of invite a late lunge, depending on how good your start is.
Yeah, it does. And especially when there's so much riding on Turn 1 on that opening lap, the sort of risk versus reward is a little bit different to the way it is at other parts of the weekend. So I expect a big lunge, not just at Turn 1. I think the opening lap could be really quite interesting. Tyres are not going to be quite up to temperature. They've been sat on the grid for a while. This is a high-speed circuit where you need that tyre temperature to deliver the grip. And so we will see cars going off across the opening lap, perhaps up and down the grid, and that could really shape the way the race forms out. Because once you've fixed that order at the end of lap 1 or lap 2, the only real options then for moving up and down come with a little bit of strategy, but even that's limited because of the tyre limit we've got. So the opening lap's going to be absolutely critical. Everyone knows it, and I think there's going to be a lot of elbows out, a lot of keeping an eye on the mirrors and what's going on around you. Everyone's got to be careful, but also take the opportunities.
Yeah, we've got that tyre jeopardy, haven't we, to look out for, so a mandatory 2-stop race. But it's not just the front row, Jen, it's Max Verstappen as well. It's very much still in this fight, and, you know, he's got the least to lose in a way, and Lando Norris has the most to lose, and that's a dangerous position for a Max Verstappen to be in.
So Max Verstappen definitely goes into this race with the inside confidence of knowing that he can just go for it. For him, it really is win or bust. He has to close in points, and he has to do it this weekend. Otherwise, his championship is done. So starting in third place, as I mentioned a few times, he's starting on the good side of the grid. So I foresee him overtaking Lando Norris off the start, maybe even Piastri. Oh, people sitting next to me nodding their heads. So they're obviously in agreement. So I think Verstappen's going to get out in front on lap 1, and we've seen today with the sprint it's not easy to pass, so as long as there's no random safety car at exactly the wrong time, i.e. after someone pits, giving someone else the advantage, I think Verstappen could win this.
Are you sitting next to our colleagues at Viaplay, the Dutch broadcasters, by any chance?
No, I'm sitting next to two fans who are dressed up in Ferrari kit right in front of the McLaren hospitality unit with Mark Webber sat there, so I can't really be too negative about McLaren. So, I mean, they've got a 1-2. First job done. Can they convert it? Can they take a title? Can they win the champion? Oh, there's so much at play. I love this.
It is set up so nicely, isn't it? A reminder then, the championship permutations for Sunday's Grand Prix. Lando Norris will be champion if he wins the race, or if he outscores Piastri by 4 points and doesn't lose any points to Verstappen. Verstappen's got to finish ahead of Norris in the points to stay in the fight. The way they line up is Piastri on pole, Norris second, Verstappen third. Who's winning this race, Mark?
I'm kind of with Jen. I think, what an exciting prospect it would be for Max Verstappen to win this Grand Prix. He's got nothing to lose. I think Jenny's absolutely right. A good start in prospect, so I'd love to see that.
I think,
Harry, who do you think is going to do it?
I think it's a Verstappen clean sweep, is it? Let's see what happens. You can hear all of the race on 5 Sports Extra. We're going to be on the radio building up from 3:30 in the afternoon UK time, ahead of lights out at 4 o'clock for the penultimate Grand Prix of the year, where the championship could be decided. But there'll be 57 racing laps before we get to that checkered flag. It's going to be a good one. We'll all be here. Hope you can join us for it. Thanks so much to the team so far this weekend. We'll see you for the race. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.